Well, let's talk about the story that's on the front of the Sun newspaper. This is 7 UK police forces on the Epstein case. The Lolita flight logs are being checked. The pressure is ramping up after Andrew-Mountbatten, Windsor, was last night facing a criminal probe into sex trafficking claims. 7 forces examining new evidence from the Jeffrey Epstein files. Essex Police assessing claims women flown to Stansted on his Lolita Express, the absolutely horrendous and tasteless, more than tasteless, name given to the paedophile's plane. And this is checks including up to 90 flights into Stansted's private terminal, 15 after the US financier jailed after 2008 for soliciting underage sex. We heard on the news there a little bit earlier on that there are allegations about Andrew, and who may or may not have gone into Buckingham Palace at times, and his close protection officers, apparently, allegations anyway, saying that they turned a blind eye. Essex Police looking at flight logs and emails in regard to Epstein. Gordon Brown, the former Prime Minister, saying messages contained the Epstein files linked Andrew to at least one victim who was flown into Stansted on the plane before being snuck, I'm not sure, into Buckingham Palace. Essex Police say we're assessing the information that has emerged in relation to private flights into and out of Stansted Airport following the publication of the United States Department of Justice Epstein files. Metropolitan Police, Surrey Police, Thames Valley, Norfolk and Bedfordshire launching criminal probes or assessing evidence within the file's 3 million pages. Let's speak to Caroline Aston, the royal commentator, about this. Caroline, you're very welcome to the programme. This just goes on.
Well, yes, it's the story that keeps on giving out a lot of very negative stuff. And of course, things are very quiet from the former Prince Andrew, now Mr. Andrew-Mountbatten, Windsor, confined to the Siberian wastes of Sandringham. I'm sure he's had a lot of high-grade legal advice to keep quiet, rather like Ghislaine Maxwell, if you remember, just lately pleaded the Fifth Amendment for fear of incriminating herself. But this is a can of worms that gets bigger and more wriggling by the day. 3 million files to go through. You bet there's other stuff that will come up as time goes on. But I suppose at the root of this, there's a terrible warning, in a sense, to us all, isn't there? Be very careful what you email, what you put out there, because there's always the chance that it might come back at some point in the future to bite you in the backside. And it doesn't really matter whether it's a commoner's rump or a right royal one. And that's exactly what's happening here with forensic analysis of what's contained in these so incriminating Epstein files.
It's certainly taken a while for this to happen. These warnings have been around for many years. Virginia Giuffre has put a lot of evidence in the public domain when she was alive, as have many other victims, very, very bravely speaking about this, waiving the right to anonymity as victims of Jeffrey Epstein and perhaps others as well. Do you think we'll really get a full picture of what happened? We have lots and lots of evidence, but putting that together from, you know, an email saying one thing, a victim saying something else, evidence from perhaps a close protection officer or someone else who dealt with logs of people coming in and out of royal palaces. It'll take a long time for that to come together. I just wonder how hopeful you are that justice can truly be done for the victims, and that those who are the perpetrators, whoever they are, in whatever position they may be. We had the head of the Crown Prosecution Service, Stephen Parkinson, saying that Andrew, well, saying not necessarily about Andrew, but he said no one is above the law. Do you believe that to be the case, and will full truth and justice eventually emerge, or is it too late because of the passage of time, Caroline?
I think you're absolutely right to put the victims in first place there, those who were the victims, the people who were trafficked, the people whose lives will have been changed forever by the Epstein years. Will we have full revelation? Well, that's a story yet still to unfold. The problem is this hangs, doesn't it, like the sword of Damocles over the head of Mr. Andrew-Mountbatten, Windsor, who continues to deny wrongdoing. And as I've said several times, what is wrongdoing? Define it. What is your definition? You know, what's the worst thing of all about all of this? I get the impression he still doesn't get this. He still sees himself as having that invisible Teflon coating called being royal that has protected him for so many decades. And he isn't quite able to come to terms with what's now emerging. Full revelation, that will take a long, long time. But I say this for the royal family going forward, and they do good work. This rotten apple is threatening to taint the whole picture. They really do have to look at that little word transparency, not over this, but over many other issues, finance, the lot. But this is a big one, and there's still an awful lot of investigation to go on of such a huge tranche of material. This story will run and run like a forest fire, only it's a fire that's now pretty much out of control.
What do you think about Queen Elizabeth II? We know, or at least have been told, that some of the money for Virginia Giuffre's payoff, which never actually reached her in full, was given by the late Queen. She is revered by our viewers and listeners. She is revered in the country. But now some people saying, and a few have said previously, I wonder in your estimation whether her role in this will come under scrutiny and perhaps her reputation may change.
She was an elderly lady when a lot of this was happening, and it has to be said she was extremely partial to Andrew, wasn't she? He was her favourite son, and there was a saying around at the time, rather like the Sussexes, what Andrew wanted, Andrew tended to get, like the role of being a trade envoy. It's well known that Prince Charles, when he was Prince of Wales, was against this. He didn't think his brother was cut perhaps from the right cloth to do such a delicate job as that. The Queen loved her son. She wanted him to do well. Maybe she should have acted a little bit sooner, but don't forget, once it became obvious from the Emily Maitlis interview, that terrible juggernaut crash that he should never, ever have given, she did take steps to nullify him a little bit. But it's taken right until now for someone to grasp the nettle that is Andrew-Mountbatten Windsor and thoroughly remove him physically from the picture. He's out of sight. The optics of him on horseback waving, that's all gone. We now face a rather darker set of stuff. I, too, am a great admirer of the Queen, a great constitutional monarch, but also a mother, also partial to a son she favoured. Who can blame her for that? We all do that. But perhaps rather more should have been done, rather more publicly and sooner. Who knew what when, Peter? That's the question.
Absolutely, and let's hope we get answers. Caroline Aston, royal commentator, thank you.